the night that changed my life. I was around 11 years old, living on a busy block, and babysitting for the bartenders who frequented the bar down the road. It was an easy gig. Once they finished their shifts, they could swing by and pick up their kids. However, one Friday night, things took a sinister turn. On this particular evening, I found myself with 3 kids more than my usual babysitting load. The bar was bustling with activity, and I figured it was just a consequence of the weekend rush. The children were settled upstairs, and I decided to keep them entertained with a movie. Little did I know that the tranquility of that night would soon be shattered. My living room, with its TV mounted on the wall and the couch placed between the door and windows, became the stage for a terrifying encounter. As I reached for the remote to start the movie, an unsettling sight caught my eye in the reflection on the TV screen. What looked like a 45-year-old man was standing on the porch, his eyes fixed on me, peering blankly through the door into my house. Panic set in, but I forced myself to remain composed. I strategically placed the remote back on the table, trying not to betray my realization, and casually picked up my phone. Dialing my mom, who was still at the bar, I acted like I was scrolling through TikTok while discreetly observing every move the man made. He turned away, seemingly retreating from the porch, and I felt a sense of relief thinking that he had left. However, the rustling of bushes at the side of the house made me signal that he was not done here. The realization hit me like a tidal wave. The man had discovered a large window, conveniently low and wide enough for him to climb through. Without a moment's hesitation, I dropped my phone and let out a blood-curdling scream. He is trying to get in. In a frenzied state, I rushed to the kitchen, grabbed the largest knife I could find, and sprinted back to the window. At this point, adrenaline has taken over and my fight or flight kicked in. I came face to face with the intruder. I mustered all the courage an 11-year-old could muster, warning him that I wouldn't hesitate to defend myself. In retrospect, I must have looked comical. A 5 feet 2 inches preteen, barely able to stand straight, holding a knife in an attempt to protect the children in my care. Undeterred, the man reached for the window, attempting to pry it open. With a surge of adrenaline, I slammed it shut and locked it. The joy in his eyes transformed into disappointment, as if he believed he had a right to invade our home. Just then, a bunch of bright lights and urgent voices came down the road. Unbeknownst to me, my mom had let the female bartenders know what was happening, and a group of ex-military men enjoying a quiet drink at the bar had heard what was going on and had rushed to come and help. Their collective response was swift and determined, rushing to my aid with the urgency of a rescue mission. The memories of what happened next are blurred. I vaguely recall unlocking the front door to find my mom in tears, hugging me tightly. The other bartenders, concerned, rushed to check on their own children. As the adrenaline subsided, the realization hit me. The man had been standing there, watching, waiting, and listening. How long was he there watching? The man who had intruded into our home was eventually apprehended, facing the consequences of his actions. The incident, though haunting, became a chapter in the story of our community, a story of unity of a neighborhood that refused to be defined by fear. So, imagine this perfect autumn evening. A cool breeze, leaves rustling, and a clear sky with stars visible. My family and I decided to dial up the coziness by having a campfire. We stepped outside after the darkness had set in, ready to embrace the warmth of the flames and indulge in the marshmallows and s'mores. We set up our little camp right on the edge of the woods by our playground, which was a decent trek from the house thanks to the acres of land we called ours. The flickering campfire and the promise of marshmallows had us all settled around, swapping stories, and just enjoying the simple joy of being outdoors. Now, we were no strangers to nighttime adventures. We'd done this before, but this particular night took an unexpected turn. After a couple of hours of marshmallow roasting and s'mores construction, suddenly, from the depths of the woods, we started hearing sounds. Leaves crunching and sticks snapping. Our initial reaction was the classic, "Oh, probably just an animal." So we brushed it off, went back to our conversations. But the sounds didn't quit. They got closer, like someone was making their way through the woods deliberately. The footsteps were too deliberate, not the random scuffling you'd expect from an animal. And then, to add a cinematic touch to the whole scene, a cough rang out from the woods, a human cough. That's when it hit us. This was no ordinary night. The whole family, armed with marshmallow sticks, stood there in silence. The air was thick with an uneasy tension, like we'd stumbled into a suspense movie plot. Without saying a word, we grabbed our flashlights and pointed them into the woods, ready to unmask the mystery guest. There he was, or at least a dark figure of a man, playing hide-and-seek behind a tree. He was just watching us. We ditched everything, the marshmallows, the s'mores, the whole campfire setup, and sprinted back to the house like the woods had turned into a haunted maze. Once inside, we locked the doors, secured the windows, and we were on high alert. The chatter among us turned to the unsettling possibility that this might be the same person who tailed my sister and me on a hiking trip a little while back. The memory of that episode added an extra layer of paranoia to the mix. The once-beloved tradition of nighttime campfires got a hard pass, replaced by cautious daytime gatherings. The questions about who was lurking in the shadows and what their deal was still hang over us. That one autumn night changed our backyard haven into a place of uncertainty, the unknown lurking behind every rustle in the leaves. I will never view the Christmas holidays the same again. The incident occurred during a family visit to Grandma's house in Chapel Hill on the Friday following Thanksgiving. Our family tradition involved navigating the mall's Black Friday sales for clothing and gift deals, marking the commencement of the holiday shopping frenzy. Upon entering the mall's main gallery, an arranged Santa's enclave captured my attention. Santa himself was seated in a designated area, surrounded by Christmas trees, wrapped presents, and decorative elements, creating a joyful feeling of festive cheer. Despite the artificiality of his white beard, he presented the image of a kind and happy Santa Claus. I was young at the time, but was old enough to know that Santa wasn't really real. I was eagerly drawn to the festive display. I exclaimed, "Look, Mom, Santa," and wanted to get a photograph. However, my mother, seeing the long line, opted for a rain check, promising a potential visit later. The day unfolded with a series of shopping endeavors and a lunch at California Pizza Kitchen, and continued shopping for clothing throughout the afternoon. As we were re-entering the mall, Santa's presence re-emerged. This time, with no discernible cue, I begged my mother for an opportunity to tell Santa my Christmas wishes. A nominal contribution was made to the tip box, held by a plastic elf, and I approached Santa with enthusiasm. Santa, instead of embodying the anticipated joy, abruptly shut me off, lifting me onto his lap with undue force. His demeanor shifted from the morning's joy to an uncomfortable insistence, urging me to engage physically. His eyes were bloodshot, a dirty and untidy beard, deteriorated teeth, and extremely bad breath. My attempts to get off of his lap failed as he maintained an uncomfortably tight grip. My mother, intending to capture the moment with her iPhone, observed my distress and promptly intervened. She demanded him to let me go, making the imposter Santa to collapse onto the floor, beard disheveled. He retreated, dissolving into the bustling mall crowd. Subsequent inquiries revealed that the actual Santa, during his break, was knocked unconscious and had fallen victim to a mugging, resulting in the theft of his costume. The imposter Santa, however, remained at large. This unpleasant encounter etched itself into my holiday memories, reshaping my perception of the joyous season. I was just a young kid wanting to tell Santa my Christmas wishes, but that quickly turned into a source of anxiety, forever altering my approach to the once celebrated tradition. They eventually caught the Santa and charged him with his crimes. But I will never see Santa or Christmas the same again.